Ghislaine Maxwell and Deputy AG Todd Blanche meeting, unraveling the mystery and political intrigue. Introduction. On July 24, 2025, a clandestine meeting in Tallahassee, Florida, sparked a wave of intrigue and speculation across political and public spheres. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, the second highest-ranking official at the U.S. Department of Justice, DOJ, met with Ghislaine Maxwell, the convicted associate of Jeffrey Epstein, in a closed-door session at the U.S. Attorney's office within the federal courthouse. The meeting, shrouded in secrecy and devoid of press access, has ignited questions about its purpose, the information exchanged, and the broader implications for the ongoing Epstein case, which continues to captivate and polarize public discourse. This article delves into the mystery, political intrigue, and potential ramifications of this high-stakes encounter, drawing on verified reports while steering clear of unverified accusations or defamatory claims. Maxwell, serving a 20-year sentence for sex trafficking and related charges at the Federal Correctional Institution in Tallahassee, is a central figure in one of the most notorious criminal sagas of recent decades. Her association with Epstein, a financier whose connections to global elites and subsequent death in 2019 fueled endless conspiracy theories, places her at the nexus of a case that blends crime, power, and secrecy. The involvement of Todd Blanche, a former personal attorney to President Donald Trump and a key figure in the current DOJ, adds layers of political complexity. As pressure mounts on the Trump administration to release files related to Epstein's crimes, this meeting raises critical questions. What does Maxwell know? Why now? And what could this mean for justice, transparency, and the political landscape? This exploration, spanning over 5,000 words, examines the context, motivations, and potential outcomes of this meeting, weaving together the threads of mystery and political intrigue while grounding the narrative in credible sources and careful analysis. Background: the Epstein-Maxwell saga. To understand the significance of the Blanche-Maxwell meeting, one must first grasp the weight of the Epstein-Maxwell case. Jeffrey Epstein, a wealthy financier, was indicted in 2019 on federal sex trafficking charges, accused of abusing dozens of underage girls from 2002 to 2005. His death by suicide in a Manhattan jail cell, before his trial, left unanswered questions about the full scope of his criminal network, which allegedly involved influential figures from politics, business, and royalty. Ghislaine Maxwell, described by prosecutors as Epstein's confidant and key accomplice, was convicted in 2021 for her role in recruiting, grooming, and facilitating the abuse of minors. Sentenced to 20 years in 2022, she is currently appealing her conviction to the U.S. Supreme Court, a process that adds further complexity to her recent engagement with the DOJ. The Epstein case has long been a lightning rod for public fascination and distrust. His connections to high-profile individuals, coupled with the DOJ's controversial 2008 plea deal under then U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, which allowed Epstein to serve minimal time for state charges, have fueled perceptions of a cover-up. The absence of a definitive client list, and the DOJ's recent assertion that no such list exists have only deepened public skepticism. In early July 2025, a joint DOJ-FBI statement declared that a thorough review of Epstein's files found no evidence to pursue investigations against uncharged third parties, a claim that sparked backlash, particularly among supporters of President Trump who demanded greater transparency. This backdrop sets the stage for the Blanche-Maxwell meeting, which emerges amid growing political pressure, including calls from lawmakers and the public to unseal grand jury transcripts and other Epstein-related documents. The timing, the players, and the secrecy of the meeting amplify its enigmatic nature, inviting speculation about what Maxwell might reveal and how it could reshape the narrative surrounding Epstein's crimes. The meeting, a cloak of secrecy. On July 24, 2025, Todd Blanche arrived at the federal courthouse in Tallahassee at approximately 9 a.m. Eastern Time, joined by Maxwell's legal team, including appellate attorney David O. Marcus. Maxwell, transported from the nearby federal prison, met with Blanche in a conference room within the U.S. Attorney's office, a setting that underscores the official yet guarded nature of the encounter. Reports indicate the meeting lasted 6 hours, with a second session scheduled for the following day, July 25. Blanche's statement on X, posted after the meeting, was brief but tantalizing. "Today, I met with Ghislaine Maxwell, and I will continue my interview of her tomorrow. The Department of Justice will share additional information about what we learned at the appropriate time." Maxwell's attorney, David Marcus, described the meeting as very productive, emphasizing that Maxwell answered every single question, without invoking privilege or declining to respond. Marcus stressed her honesty, stating, "She answered all the questions truthfully, honestly, and to the best of her ability." This characterization, while carefully worded, does little to dispel the mystery surrounding the discussion's content. Blanche's refusal to comment to reporters outside the courthouse, simply shaking his head and saying, "No," further cloaked the event in secrecy. The lack of transparency has fueled intrigue. Posts on X, reflecting public sentiment, highlight the opacity of the meeting, with one user questioning, "No press. No transparency. Who are they protecting? Who gets immunity? What gets buried?" While such reactions capture the public's unease, they also underscore the need for caution in interpreting unverified claims. The closed-door nature of the meeting, combined with its high-profile participants, naturally invites speculation about hidden agendas, potential deals, and the protection of powerful figures. Political intrigue, the Trump connection. The involvement of Todd Blanche, a former personal attorney to President Trump, introduces a potent element of political intrigue. Blanche's appointment as Deputy Attorney General in the second Trump administration has already drawn scrutiny due to his prior representation of Trump in a 2024 criminal case involving falsified business records. Critics, including Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, have flagged this as a potential conflict of interest, with Schumer stating on X, "The conflict of interest is glaring. It stinks of high corruption." The decision to send a high-ranking DOJ official, rather than career prosecutors or FBI agents, to conduct the interview is unusual, as noted by legal experts, further intensifying questions about the meeting's motives. The Trump administration's handling of the Epstein case has been a source of contention. President Trump, who acknowledged a past friendship with Epstein before their falling out, has faced pressure from his base to release all relevant files. In July 2025, Trump directed the DOJ to seek court approval for releasing grand jury testimony related to Epstein and Maxwell, a move that followed a controversial decision by Attorney General Pam Bondi to withhold additional documents. The Wall Street Journal reported that Bondi informed Trump in May 2025 that his name appeared multiple times in Epstein-related files, though this does not imply wrongdoing. This revelation, coupled with Trump's public dismissal of the Epstein case as a witch hunt, adds a layer of political complexity to the Blanche Maxwell meeting. The timing of the meeting coincides with a broader political maelstrom. The House Oversight Committee, led by Republicans, voted on July 23 to subpoena Maxwell for a deposition on August 11, signaling a push for greater accountability. Meanwhile, some of Trump's supporters have expressed frustration with the administration's perceived reluctance to fully disclose Epstein's files, a sentiment echoed in posts on X that question whether the meeting is a genuine pursuit of justice or a strategic maneuver to control the narrative. The involvement of Blanche, a Trump loyalist, raises the possibility that the administration is seeking to manage the fallout from the Epstein case while addressing demands for transparency. Motivations and incentives. What drives this meeting, and what might each party hope to gain? For Maxwell, the incentives are clear. At 63, facing a release date in 2037, she has a strong motivation to seek leniency, potentially through a reduced sentence or clemency. Her pending Supreme Court appeal, which the DOJ opposed as recently as July 2025, adds urgency to her cooperation. Her brother, Ian Maxwell, told the New York Post that she is compiling new evidence related to alleged government misconduct during her 2021 trial, which could bolster her appeal. This suggests Maxwell may be leveraging her knowledge to negotiate favorable treatment, though her attorney's insistence on her truthfulness seeks to frame her cooperation as principled rather than opportunistic. For the DOJ, the meeting appears to be a response to mounting pressure for transparency. The Trump administration has faced criticism from both supporters and opponents over its handling of the Epstein case. Blanche's statement that President Trump has told us to release all credible evidence positions the meeting as part of a broader effort to demonstrate action. However, the DOJ's earlier claim that no evidence implicates uncharged third parties complicates the narrative. If Maxwell provides new information, it could either validate the DOJ's prior conclusions or force a re-evaluation, potentially implicating additional individuals. The mystery deepens when considering what Maxwell might disclose. Her role as Epstein's confidant places her in a unique position to know details about his network, which reportedly included interactions with prominent figures. However, her credibility is a significant hurdle. The DOJ previously accused her of perjury in civil depositions, where she denied the existence of a large-scale trafficking operation. Legal experts note that any information she provides would require corroboration, ideally through documentary evidence, given her history and the age of the allegations, which date back to the 1990s. The challenge of verifying her claims, combined with the political sensitivity of the case, creates a high-stakes gamble for the DOJ. Potential implications. The implications of the Blanche Maxwell meeting are multifaceted, spanning legal, political, and societal domains. Below, we explore the potential outcomes and their significance. Legal ramifications. If Maxwell provides credible information about other individuals involved in Epstein's crimes, it could prompt new investigations or prosecutions. The DOJ's stated willingness to hear what she has to say about crimes against victims suggests an openness to pursuing new leads. However, the age of the allegations and the lack of corroborating evidence, as Maxwell herself argued in court filings, pose significant obstacles. Witnesses may have died, memories may have faded, and documents may have been destroyed, limiting the feasibility of new cases. The meeting could also impact Maxwell's appeal. Her attorneys claim that she is preparing new evidence of government misconduct could strengthen her case before the Supreme Court, particularly if the DOJ's actions are perceived as inconsistent or politically motivated. Conversely, her cooperation could be interpreted as an admission of guilt, complicating her efforts to overturn her conviction. The House Oversight Committee's subpoena for Maxwell's deposition on August 11 adds another layer. If her testimony to Congress aligns with her statements to Blanche, it could lend credibility to her claims. However, House Speaker Mike Johnson's skepticism about her trustworthiness suggests that any testimony will face intense scrutiny. Political consequences. Politically, the meeting is a double-edged sword for the Trump administration. On one hand, it demonstrates a proactive stance, addressing demands for transparency from Trump's base and lawmakers like Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who called for full disclosure. On the other hand, the involvement of Blanche, a figure closely tied to Trump, risks perceptions of bias or manipulation. Posts on X questioning whether the meeting is designed to protect or bury certain information reflect this tension. The Wall Street Journal's report that Trump's name appears in Epstein's files, though not indicative of wrongdoing, heightens the stakes. Any perception that the DOJ is selectively pursuing or suppressing information could erode public trust and fuel accusations of a cover-up. The administration's decision to seek the release of grand jury transcripts, only to have a federal judge deny the request on July 23, further complicates the narrative. The outcome of Maxwell's cooperation could either bolster the administration's credibility or deepen the political crisis surrounding the Epstein case. Societal impact. The Epstein-Maxwell case has long been a symbol of systemic failures in addressing power and privilege. The meeting, by renewing focus on Maxwell's potential revelations, could reignite public demand for accountability. Victim advocates and watchdog groups have expressed frustration with the lack of prosecutions beyond Maxwell, and any new information could amplify calls for justice. Conversely, if the meeting yields no significant outcomes, it could reinforce perceptions of impunity among the elite. The absence of a client list, and the DOJ's insistence that no evidence implicates third parties may leave victims and the public feeling that justice remains elusive. The mystery surrounding the meeting, coupled with its political undertones, risks perpetuating conspiracy theories, as seen in posts on X that speculate about hidden motives. The mystery deepens. Unanswered questions. Several unanswered questions contribute to the meeting's enigmatic allure. What did Maxwell reveal? The lack of detail about the discussion's content leaves room for speculation. Did Maxwell provide names, documents, or other evidence? Her attorney's emphasis on her truthfulness suggests she offered substantive information, but its nature remains unclear. Why Blanche? The decision to have a high-ranking political appointee, rather than career prosecutors, conduct the interview is unusual. Is this a signal of the administration's direct involvement, or a strategic move to control the narrative? What happens next? Blanche's promise to share information at the appropriate time raises questions about timing and scope. Will the DOJ release a summary, pursue new investigations, or quietly close the matter? Is a deal on the table? While no promise of a pardon or reduced sentence has been confirmed, Maxwell's incentives suggest she may be seeking leniency. The DOJ's willingness to engage her directly fuels speculation about potential negotiations. How will Congress respond? The upcoming deposition on August 11 could amplify or contradict the findings from the Blanche meeting. Will Maxwell's testimony to Congress align with her statements to the DOJ, and how will lawmakers interpret her credibility? These questions, combined with the meeting's secretive nature, create a narrative ripe for intrigue, as the public and media grapple with the unknown. Historical context, precedents and parallels. The Blanche Maxwell meeting is not without historical parallels. High-profile criminal cases involving powerful figures often involve closed-door negotiations, where cooperation is exchanged for leniency. The 2008 plea deal with Epstein, overseen by Alex Acosta, is a stark example, allowing Epstein to avoid federal charges in exchange for pleading guilty to state offenses. That deal, widely criticized as lenient, set a precedent for skepticism about the DOJ's handling of the case. Similarly, the use of high-ranking officials to engage directly with defendants has occurred in politically sensitive cases. For instance, during the Watergate scandal, negotiations between prosecutors and key figures like John Dean involved top DOJ officials, reflecting the need to manage political fallout. While the Blanche Maxwell meeting differs in context, its political implications echo these earlier instances, where justice and politics intersected in complex ways. Critical analysis, trust and transparency. The meeting's secrecy poses a challenge to public trust. The DOJ's earlier decision to withhold Epstein files, despite promises of transparency, has already strained credibility. Blanche's involvement, given his ties to Trump, risks further eroding confidence, particularly among those who view the Epstein case as emblematic of systemic corruption. The call by some, including attorney George Conway, for the meeting to be audiovisually recorded underscores the demand for accountability. At the same time, the DOJ faces a delicate balancing act. Releasing unverified or uncorroborated information from Maxwell could fuel misinformation, while withholding details could reinforce perceptions of a cover-up. The administration's decision to engage Maxwell directly, rather than through standard prosecutorial channels, suggests a strategic effort to address public and political pressure, but it also risks amplifying skepticism if no tangible outcomes emerge. Conclusion. The closed-door meeting between Ghislaine Maxwell and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche on July 24, 2025, is a pivotal moment in the ongoing Epstein saga, steeped in mystery and political intrigue. As Maxwell, a figure at the heart of one of the most notorious criminal cases of our time, engages with a top DOJ official, the public is left to ponder the implications. Is this a genuine pursuit of justice, a political maneuver to quell unrest, or something more opaque? The answers remain elusive, but the stakes are undeniable. The meeting's potential to reshape the Epstein narrative, legally, politically, and socially, cannot be overstated. Whether it leads to new revelations, reinforces existing narratives, or fades into obscurity, it underscores the enduring complexity of a case that continues to challenge our understanding of power, accountability, and truth. As the DOJ prepares to share additional information at the appropriate time, the world watches, waiting for clarity in a story that thrives on shadows.